there, John Meyer here. I make a video every Friday, and many of you have showed up to this channel because Christian Henson sent you my way.
Now, if you haven't checked out John Meyer's YouTube channel, go there now and subscribe. I've linked the video of how he...
This week I want to talk about this idea that one of the reasons why I do this is because it's been my experience that you never know who is watching. The way that I want to be noticed and the way that I want to make my career rise from one level to the next, it never happens that way. It always happens in some obscure, weird situation that turns out in my favor, and I would have had no idea going into it that that would be the way that things would work out. So I'm going to take a few moments to tell you a few stories about how I thought no one was paying attention and no one was listening, and they actually were. And I'm sure that you have similar stories as well. Back when I was in college, I used to play fingerstyle acoustic guitar. That was my thing. You know, nothing cooler than a college kid finger-picking lullabies. But that was me, and I made an album, and I'm somewhat proud of it when I listen to it. It was about 20 years ago. Maybe I'll share it with you at some point, but I don't know. And I got a gig playing at Hastings Bookstore, which if you're old enough and you're from this area, that was a pretty cool place. Books, CDs, everything you could possibly need as a college student was at Hastings. So here I am, I'm gonna play in the center of the building. They put my name up on the marquee on Texas Avenue in College Station, which is the busiest road. John Meyer live at 8 o'clock on Friday night. Well, just about that time, there was this other guy who was starting to play music with a name very similar to mine. So I show up to the gig, and already the guy behind the counter is angry at me because people had been calling him all day, asking him when John Meyer was going to play. And so I set my gear up, I'm ready, I'm practicing, and there's this girl, and she is waiting to hear me play. She's on the phone to her girlfriend and saying, "Oh my gosh, John Meyer is going to be here at 8 o'clock. And so I walked up to her and I said, "Hey, actually, I'm John Meyer, and I'm going to play. I'd love for you to stick around." And she so quickly said, oh no, I'm sorry, I gotta go meet my friend. She left, nobody showed up. I had some friends show up about an hour into it, and they said, yeah, we're gonna go get some Mexican food. And I bailed on the gig 45 minutes before I was supposed to. No one was paying attention, and I left. I was ready to give up. I thought, well, this is such a huge waste of time. And then the next day, I'm at Best Buy, right? And I'm looking for a CD or something. And this guy comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, were you playing guitar at Hastings last night?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Man, I really enjoyed that. I'd had a rough day, and I didn't come up and say anything, but I stayed in the store and you couldn't see me, and I just listened to you play for that entire time, and I just want you to know that I really enjoyed it, and it really meant a lot to me." So I thanked him, and then I immediately felt like garbage. Cars are driving by, but I'm going to keep talking because I'm going to learn how to do this thing in public. On to the next story. So let's fast forward 10 years. It's about 2009 or 2010, and I had been producing bands in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for the past 10 years. Loved it, was having some success, could pay my bills. I was producing a project one day with a friend of mine, and this girl came in with songs that were close, but they weren't great. And he was a great songwriter, and he tweaked those songs and made them work. And I realized that day, and it was kind of a downer, that I wasn't very good at writing songs, so I thought, let's try to write some. So I wrote one or two, figured out a way to sing them that fit my voice, ended up making an entire album and released it, and then I had to figure out, well, do I want to perform these songs? And getting gigs is difficult, but I found a few, and I ended up at this bar in Fort Worth. And now my songs aren't really bar friendly, I wouldn't think, but they invited me to come. And so I'm setting up, and I get there kind of early in the evening, and there's not a whole lot of people in the room, but there's a few. And as I'm setting up, they all gravitate into the other room to watch the Cowboy game. And so I know people say that they play to empty rooms all the time. I played to an empty room, 0 people in the building. And so I thought about just packing up and leaving, but then I went the complete other direction and decided I was going to play as if there was 200 people and they couldn't let any more in. So I played my songs, and I may have even told stories. And at the end of it, I'm packing up and I'm texting a buddy saying, "I'm done, this is ridiculous." So a lady walks in from the other room. She had been watching the Cowboy game, and she said, "John, I really enjoyed listening to you." I thought, "Okay." And she said, "I book concerts all over the Fort Worth area. So I'd love to book you for some if you're interested. So you never know who's listening.
Oh, you move me like the words to my favorite song. You bruise me.
So a few years passed, the songwriter experiment was fun, but it pretty much come to an end. And I was almost done writing music and recording music. I was thinking about what else I could do with the rest of my life, because running a studio, doing all that, I got to the point where I was burned out. I always thought that I could write music for television, although I had no clue what that even meant. I had a friend, though, who introduced me to another person who was running a music library, and that guy graciously met with me right before he was leaving town. And I gave him a CD that I called Moody Grooves. And it had all these sounds on it that I thought were TV ready. And looking back, they were pretty terrible, incomplete ideas. And he listened to them, and he wrote all the reasons why some of them were good and why some of them would probably not work. As an afterthought, I gave him my Every Card I Have CD. I didn't think much about it. But after he wrote about all those other tracks, he popped the CD in, he listened to it, and he really liked it. At first he thought someone else produced it because the level of production was higher than the other tracks I had sent. And he realized that I had done it, and he kind of put two and two together, that those other songs were things that I thought would work. But Every Card I Have was really important to me. You could tell by the care that I put into it. And I did. I mean, I worked tirelessly on that silly project. And I put my heart on my sleeve, and I shared a bunch of things in it. And it resonated with him. So that album led to discussions about tracks that we could write for the library, which is what I'm still doing to this day. I thought that album was dead in the past, but what he heard in that album is something that I thought was a failure. And now I'm getting to do the thing that I love today because of it. This whole you never know who listening thing is not the most important reason for why we do what we do. We do it because we love it, but hey, if we want to advance in our career and make a life out of this, well, people have got to pay attention to what we're doing. So I got a couple of requests. If you're out there and you've been paying attention to my channel, you've been watching these videos and I don't know it, I'd love for you to say hi in the comments. I'd also like to hear from you if you have stories where you thought you were playing to an empty room and turns out someone was paying attention. So write that in the comments and let me know. I'd love to hear about it.
I should